Welcome to Cruising with Krusty. I'm Krusty, and in this video, I want to talk about people's preferences between planning a ride and just throwing your leg over the saddle, starting it up, and taking off. You may already be taking sides, but before you get too entrenched, hear me out. All right, so plan a ride or hop on and go. Well, I'm not going to settle this debate, and maybe to your disappointment, I'm not going to take sides either. I'm at a place where I need to do a lot more planning than I ever used to, but there are some circumstances that will determine for me how much planning goes into a ride, if any. Notice that I mentioned the word balance, a balance between planning and not planning. Listen to this definition of planning. This is paraphrased from Wikipedia. You can look it up. Planning is the process of thinking about actions required to achieve a goal. Planning is based on foresight. Some researchers regard the evolution of forethought, the capacity to think ahead, as a prime mover in human evolution. Okay, so if planning is simply just the process of thinking about whatever actions I'm going to take to reach a goal or to get something done, then I'm pretty sure human beings are planning all the time. So the minute I decide I'm going to go out and throw my leg over the bike and just head out, I've already made a plan. Most of these conversations or debates really are about how much planning. When are things overplanned? When are things underplanned? And how do you find the right balance? What are the circumstances that make for a well-planned ride? So on that pendulum between no planning, of course we're always planning, and deep planning, this is one of those circumstances that falls on the deep planning side. All right, number one, when you're asked to plan a ride. If you're asked to plan a ride, plan the thing. Find out what the goal is for this ride. Riding with friends, riding with a riding club, riding with a motorcycle club. All these rides come with different demands. So, how long do we have? When should we gather? Where's the best place to meet? Will there be a ride briefing beforehand? When is a realistic time for kickstands up? Are there any necessary stops along the way that we need to build in? What time do we need to be back? Where's the end point for the ride? What's the plan for blockers? Can all the bikes that are included in this ride, can they handle the highway? If you're not considering these things, you're not actually planning the ride as you were asked to do. When someone asks you to plan a ride, take the time, plan it. Circumstance number two, when you're actually the ride leader. When you're leading the ride, either just you and your spouse or it's two up, or for a group of riders, you better have a plan. Most people won't lead a ride because they don't want to make a plan. They don't want to be the one responsible for making the plan and making the ride happen. Like all of us, riders just want to ride. Being a ride leader, it's a ton of work and a ton of responsibility, both before, during, and even after the ride. You've got people to take care of. You've got riders who expect you to know the goal and to have planned a way to reach that goal, to get where you're going. Being put in charge of people, on two wheels especially, is no time to decide, I don't need a plan, I'll just wing it. If you're going to be a ride leader, take that responsibility seriously and meet that responsibility head on. Prove that you can do it and do it well. Plan for any outcome and have the equipment and tools, a first aid kit, tool kit, tire plugs, all that stuff, and the road plans to deal with it as best you can. Planning doesn't prevent stuff from happening, but it can prevent stuff from stopping you. And by the way, if you're not going to be the ride leader and not going to put the work into doing that and taking that responsibility, don't bitch. If you don't like the plan or the way the plan was executed, pull the leader aside individually and talk to them about it. Choosing not to plan a ride does not grant you a license to bitch behind the leader's back. And by the way, just as an anonymous aside, always thank your ride leader. All right, circumstance number 3. When you're with riders of different tolerances. Once I get through the winter, kind of get my wheels back under me in the spring, I can ride 300 plus miles. I can ride for hours on end with only a quick gas stop here and there. Each year, I'll choose to do one of the Iron Butt Association challenges, and I'll ride 24 to 36 hours with just short gas stops. But that kind of riding is not for everyone, and not everybody's bike is set up to do that. Heck, I'm getting to the age now where I may have to take a bathroom break every 100 miles. You can't really tell. Being aware of the limits of the people and the bikes that you have in your group or with you is essential, even if the plan is simply to be flexible. Some bikes can go 200 plus, 225, 250 miles. Some people carry extra gas. Some people have, little peanut tanks, or, the setup of their bike is such that they're not going to go more than 100 or 150 miles. So you need to take that into consideration when you're planning your ride. You may need to plan for scenic stops or historic sites or other special interest places, depending on your ride. All of these considerations require thinking ahead, and leadership, and good leadership requires planning. So the next circumstance that I think does require a bit of planning is for a ride to a new destination. Now we're kind of getting that pendulum swing more towards a balance, right? For a ride like this to a new destination, you certainly need to know where you're going, how you're going to get there, whether it's a monument, a covered bridge, a lighthouse, a beach, whatever it is this new destination is that you're going. I need to know how to get there. I need to know how far away it is. I need to know how long it's going to take to get there. There's a lot of those kinds of factors that require some planning. But on a ride like this, there can also be more flexibility as well, especially if it's just you, or maybe you and your partner or spouse, you're riding 2 up. You've got some time that you can probably build in case you see something you want to stop at or a place you want to stop at. However, a destination ride, especially to a new destination, does require some level of planning and forethought. Okay, and here's an obvious one that I saved to the end. If you're planning a long distance ride, then obviously you're going to need in-depth planning. I've already started to plan what I hope will be a cross-country ride for 2027. It looks like it's going to take probably a month and a half, approximately. I'm not done planning yet. But if you're going to take a month and a half and go cross-country on your motorcycle, you better have a plan. There are going to be places that you definitely want to go to. How many days are you going to stop and stay at Yellowstone, for instance? How much vacation time do you have that you can use? Are you going to have to limit and eliminate some of those stops? So this type of ride obviously requires much greater planning and a lot more time to plan it as well. Okay, so now let's talk about that place where the pendulum starts to swing away from planning. And I think one of the circumstances where less planning can be required or necessary is when it's just a ride for your own heart and soul. I mean, every ride for every rider is at its core, I think, kind of an act of self-care, which is a funny thing to say to people that aren't riders. Even for riders, we know that there's a risk, but we also know how much enjoyment and replenishment we get from motorcycle riding. Almost every rider I know will tell you that a twisty road, a warm breeze, a scenic byway, these things are restorative to the mind, the body, and the soul. We do need to be aware that sometimes we can plan those types of benefits right out of a ride. And this is where the balance between planning and freedom really need to be watched. Tilt it towards that flexibility side. Now, I'm blessed to live in a country where there's a gas station about every 2 or 3 miles. So I'm probably not going to run out of gas, although I have come close a couple of times. The same with food and snacks and drinks. There's always something around the next corner. Within the next, 100 miles, you're going to find what you need. And sometimes that's the only plan you need, is the assurance that that's going to be there. And you can get out and refresh your soul. The other circumstance I think where planning is less essential is when you already know the territory or the route. If you've been riding in the same area for decades, like I have, you know most of the major roads. And there's always, if you watch the videos, we're always kind of headed out on similar roads. If I'm going north, I know 1 or 2 roads I'm probably going to take. If I'm headed south, there's 1 or 2 roads there. If I'm headed west, there's the Pike or certain roads, Route 20 I'm going to take, to Route 9 to get me where I'm going. So I kind of know what some of those roads are. And if I already know where I'm going, if I already know the route and it's a ride I do every year, it's still restorative. I still want to go. I still want to get out, go past these lakes and reservoirs. I may want to get up to a mountain. I may want to go to a reservoir. I know these places. I don't need to make a deep plan. I know how much time it's going to take. I know I'm going to get there. I know where I'm going to stop. I may find some new places to stop. That may be the big surprise for this ride, but that requires a lot less planning in advance. So there's another circumstance where you can overplan something and take all of the fun right out of it. Don't do that. Another circumstance that's a fun blessing when it comes upon you is the spur of the moment ride. All of a sudden you had plans, but those plans disappear and you find yourself with a full day of sunshine, no plans, nothing going on. You got nothing but time on your hands and 40 hours of frustration in your chest. It's time to throw your leg over the bike and get the heck out of Dodge. This is one of those places where, again, if you spend too much time planning, too much time thinking about it, you can ruin a perfectly good riding day. My advice in this circumstance, just jump and go. You might want to have some destinations lined up in advance and set off to the side that says, hey, if I ever get a chance, I want to go here. If I ever get a free day, I want to ride here. When that presents itself, you're ready to go. And just go. And this used to be one of my favorite goals. When your goal is just to go out and get lost. So here's that balance thing. You've got the goal. Your goal is to go get lost and explore. What's the plan? This is where the plan is to simply throw your leg over the saddle, turn the bike on, rev that throttle, and get out. Maybe just point the bike in some direction and head off. You'll find gas stations. You'll find food when you need it. If you get in traffic, you get off at the next exit and go. If you hit construction, you can turn around or take a little another side road someplace and go explore. These are essential rides too, because when you're planning, sometimes when you're planning, you can't find those roads or you won't pick those roads. Sometimes getting lost shows you some of the best places right in your own area that you never knew existed. Thankfully, for all of these circumstances, the ride itself becomes the reward for your plans. If you've got good plans in place, the ride itself will be the reward. All right. Well, I know this isn't going to end the debate. It may only start the debate. I don't know. But I hope it has been helpful as you think about planning or not planning your motorcycle rides. I also hope that if you're only doing short, unplanned rides, you'll get up the courage to learn for yourself what tools are best for you to help plan rides. I'll do another video at some point on how I plan rides, how to make that happen. That might be helpful as well. But challenge yourself to go further than you have before. Maybe do an overnight as your first kind of long distance ride as well. But whatever you're doing, get out there. Every day is a new day for opportunities to ride to someplace and see something you've never seen. Enjoy the open road that this country affords you. Until then, let's gear up, let's saddle up, and let's go.